It's a very good evening and welcome along to another edition of The Scores, coming up to 6 minutes past 7 o'clock on this Thursday. And on tonight's programme we'll be talking soccer, and in particular League of Ireland, Irish League and Ulster Senior League football with former Harps manager Anthony Gorman. Martin McHugh runs the rule over this weekend's Ulster Championship games as Derry and Tyrone start their campaigns. We'll be hearing from Donegal hurling manager Mickey McCann later as they get their championship up and running against Fermanagh. And Strabane Rugby Club are involved in the Gordan West Plate Final. That's taking place on Saturday. On the programme this evening, we will be joined by their captain, Jimmy Hamilton. So we've got a busy programme between now and 8 o'clock. But we're going to start with some sad news this evening. And tributes are being paid to Irish rally driver Craig Breen, who has died following an accident in Croatia. The Waterford native had been participating in a pre-test event ahead of the Croatia rally. Breen's co-driver James Fulton was unharmed in the incident. Motorsport Ireland have described Breen, who was 33, as a model competitor. And as we know, Breen, of course, competed here in Donegal on several occasions. Joining me in studio is a man that knows a thing or two about rally, and that, of course, is Letterkenny man Rory Kennedy. And I suppose, Rory, glad to have you in studio, but it's not a nice thing to be discussing this evening. Another dark day for motorsport and rallying.
Yes, Oisin, unfortunately, another very dark day for motorsport, in particular rallying in Ireland. This news filtered through this afternoon, or early this afternoon, of Craig's untimely demise. Just to say we're all devastated is an understatement, really. As you know, Craig was a great supporter of the Donegal rally and has been here on quite a number of occasions. And I think maybe on the last occasion in 19, maybe he was pushing for the lead. Him and Sam Moffat were having a brilliant rally at that time. So, as I say, we're all, the whole rally fraternity in Ireland and beyond, are totally devastated with this news today.
Yeah, and listen, a hugely talented driver, Rory, and he worked his way right up to the top of the tree in rallying, so he did.
Well, it's very true, Oisin, because he started in all the junior classes and came all the way up and graduated up, and he won the FST Championship, which got him a junior drive in the World Championship.
2011.
And
that was only his second year, because he was karting in 09, and that was only his second year.
So it's remarkable, really, the achievement. And he won it on the last stage by 1 second, I think, which even adds to the whole occasion. But as I say, Craig, only last Saturday, it's hard to believe, only last Friday night, we were chatting to Craig and his dad, Ray, at the Circuit of Ireland. We're all staying in Cookstown the night before the start of the rally. We were all out having the crack, and he was very generous with his time. He always had time for everybody and all competitors, from the top right down through the classes and so on. So much so that he was even part of the Junior 1000 category on Easter Monday. They had a test day, if you like, down in Tina in County Galway, and Craig and Eugene Donnelly and quite a few other drivers were there. And this is coaching young drivers. Yeah. Young drivers who are only getting their driving licences, and they rally 1000cc cars. So Craig was there. So as I say, very, very generous with his time, and was very much part of the Irish fraternity.
Yeah, I suppose in motorsport as well, Rory, particularly when you're at a world level, you're judged on two things: the number of world championships you have, and have you won, and have you been the fastest in Finland. And he was very much on course for, without doubt, being one of the fastest in Finland, and you never know what was going to happen down the line in the World Championship front.
Well, that's true, Oisin. And even before we just touch on that, to get to the World Championship in the first place, don't forget he's an Irish driver, and there's not many other than Chris Meek and maybe a lesser extent Billy Coleman in the past that have gotten there, gotten to the same level. So it was a remarkable achievement to get there. And once he got there, he really made his mark. First of all, he was the number 3 driver for Hyundai about 3 or 4 years ago and did some sterling work for them. The same with Citroën. And even to finish the year Chris Meek won Rally Finland, it's important to say that Craig finished 3rd that year as well. And like Rally Finland's a spiritual home for rallying, and it's the fastest rally in the world. And Craig on that rally was outstanding, and he has been in the past as well with Hyundai. So much so that a lot of people considered him as favourite for this year's event.
Yeah. Just finally then, we'll be thinking of his family, and we send our condolences to the Breen family, and in particular his dad, Ray, of course, who was a huge motorsport man as well. But there's a lot of shocks today, so there is, filtering through the rally family, the rally fraternity, Roy.
Huge shock. Oisin, as I said previously, when this word came through, the phones are just pinging messages and WhatsApps for ages there. But when you think of Craig, he drove for Ford last year and he had a nightmare year, really. The thing didn't come together. And I think mid-season they parted and went their separate ways. And he came back this year with Hyundai. And on the second rally of the year, he finished second overall for Hyundai. And I'll never forget his comment at the end of the stage. He was always fantastic, when the camera and the microphone was put to him at the end of the stage. And he says, you never really should never really let anybody put you down. You should always believe in your own potential. And he really did. And, as far as Irish rallying goes, he really did us all very proud. And it was a delight to see him there. And it's, going forward, it's going to be tragic. Like when the rallies come on, that he's not there representing.
Yeah. And we did hope that we would see him back in Donegal at some stage after 2019, because he was really on the pace. When you have something like Craig Breen, you want to see him back competing in the international. Unfortunately, we're not going to see that now with his passing today. It's been a difficult day for anybody that's a fan of rallying, that is entrenched in the sport like you are, Rory. And again, it's been a difficult day, and I appreciate you coming on to talk to us this evening.
Okay, Oisin, thanks.
Hey guys, Rory Kennedy. Okay, we're going to take a quick commercial break here on The Score in Highland, and you can join us for more with Martin McHugh and the Gaelic Games Front after these.
Sport on Highland is brought to you by Michael Murphy Sports and Leisure Letterkenny, with premium running footwear from top brands like Asics, New Balance, Brooks, Adidas and Under Armour. See michaelmurphysports.ie.
Hello, how can I help you?
I'm looking to claim on my insurance policy.
Okay, and what type of chip do you need to claim for?
It's not a chip. I was in a minor accident.
And was your windscreen chipped in this accident?
No, it's just my backlight and the bumper.
So your windscreen is not chipped?
No.
Unfortunately, our policies only cover chips.
Do you get the feeling that you're not getting the right cover? Well, at Local Insurance, we are Irish owned and understand your needs. Call us today for a bespoke quote on 0818 894 444. Local Insurance, we'll get you sorted. The Local Insurance Network, DAC Trading's Local Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Local Insurance is a tied insurance intermediary of Acorn Brokerage Limited. Acorn Brokerage Limited, trading as Acorn Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Keep your car or van running smoothly with a service at Hegarty's Ford in Letterkenny. Not only will it minimise the risk of a major repair expense, but it will be logged in your vehicle's service handbook and help its resale value. Hegarty's also offer everything from new and pre-owned car sales to parts and body repairs in their approved body shop. Book a service online this month and save €30 when you use the code FORD30. You're always in good hands at Hegarty's Ford, Carnamugga, Letterkenny. See hegartys.com.
Transform your garage with an electric roller garage door from Garola. It's time to modernise with a fully fitted roller door from just €997. With 21 colours to choose from, we'll even take your old garage door away. Book your free survey today. Call 1800 827 515 or visit garola.ie.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
And we're time checking here on Highland Thursday evening, the Score programme. It's bang on 14 minutes past the hour of 7 o'clock, and we're going to move into the Gaelic Games world. And joining us now is Martin McHugh, our big match analyst. Hopefully, we've got you on the line. Hiya, Martin.
Hi, Oisin. How are you?
I'm not too bad, Martin. Before we talk about Ulster, Roscommon's big win last week against Mayo. It's given a lot of other counties hope, so it is now in their provincial championships, and as we head to the All-Ireland series. Big one for Roscommon, and obviously for your man Mark, who's involved in the coaching setup there.
Yeah, a massive one for them. Maybe Mayo took the eye off a ball after winning the league final the week before. Maybe we're actually thinking about Galway and that there in the next match, and sometimes that happens, the hungrier team comes out on top, and I felt that, Roscommon definitely deserved to win it. They have a lot of very, very good footballers, and, they're a team that maybe not a lot of teams will want to play against down the road, and because they look forward now to Galway and next weekend. And that's a big game for them as well, because the winners of that, you feel, would have a great chance of winning Connacht and getting seeded number one. So I suppose the big thing about winning your province is getting seeded number one. So, and they end up now, Mayo, who won the National League, who are one of the favourites to win the All-Ireland, are going to end up being seeded in number 3. So there's going to be at least one very, very tough group in the groups of 4. Over the head of maybe that result last Sunday, Roscommon beating Mayo.
In relation to Ulster, Derry, the defending champions from last year, are Derry, I suppose, as we go to the first game, going to make a statement on Saturday evening that they mean serious business because it's championship time, Martin, against Fermanagh?
Yeah, Oisin, suppose looking at it from a Derry point of view, I mean, progress this year will be to basically get to the All-Ireland final. One in Ulster will be a bonus from the point of view of they're saying to themselves, if we can win Ulster here, we avoid, the Dublin, the Kerrys, and probably they're saying maybe Galway and Connacht, that you avoid three. That's three of the top 4 or 5 teams in the country. So you avoid them. So, you'll go into a different group with them. And, that's probably the big thing about winning your province. It's not really all about winning the province. And we said, well, it's great to win a provincial championship. And I think for the teams that are looking further down the road, I think getting seeded number 1 can probably end up being the most important thing. So from Derry's point of view, they'll be disappointed with the performance in the league final. Now, they scored as much as Dublin did in 10 scores, but they conceded the 4 goals. And they'll be disappointed because they normally don't concede goals. But suppose when Conor Glass went off in the middle of the field and Chrissy McCaig didn't play to pick up Conor Callan, who caused them a lot of trouble, that's what happened. But I'm hearing that both of them are fit for Saturday night and will be playing, which is a big plus for Derry because they have a small squad. And the other thing is Kieran McFall is going really well in training. He's back home from America, and he's maybe the plus that they do need this year, because they're going to need more up front, particularly if they're going to win the All-Ireland. They're definitely going to need more players up front. They've Lachlan Murray, who's a year older now from the under-20s, Oisin, as well, and that he'll be a big help to them as well. But I think Kieran McFall, I think he'll get some game time even on Saturday night, because they'll want to get him in there to get him ready for, they probably feel it'll be maybe Tyrone that they'll be meeting in the Ulster semi-final, and that'll end up being a very, very big game because of the seeding for the championship down the road.
Yeah, we've seen teams before, Martin. I'll use Donegal as the example at the time under Jim's reign that Rory was obviously part of. We've seen this progress from 2011 and then into 12 where they won the All-Ireland, and they changed the way they sort of added a different dynamic to the way they were playing football from the year before. Do you see that sort of evolution in Derry from where they were last year on their league performances, when the way they're playing, the style of football that they're playing?
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, Oisin. I think the style of football they're playing. Now, if you go back and look at Donegal, when they changed their style when they got to Croke Park and everything else, when you met the likes of Kerry, Cork and these teams who weren't going to be as defensive as maybe the Ulster teams you came up against, and Dublin for that matter. But I think you have to kick the ball in Croke Park. But if you look at Donegal, particularly that team, you had a full forward line of Colm Anthony McFadden, you had Michael Murphy and you had Paddy McBurty, 3 big men who could win their own ball, so Donegal could do that. Now, Derry probably don't have that luxury in their team that they can kick the ball, and that's where Kieran McFall will make a difference. They play him maybe out the field as a runner and give them that added running ability from the half forward line. And I think the other thing would be Lachlan Murray playing inside will definitely give them an added advantage with the ball. But you're definitely in Croke Park. It mightn't be any bigger than Clonus or any other pitch, or Ballybofey for that matter, but the thing is it seems to play bigger, and you have to kick the ball in Croke Park because you can't run it the length of the field in Croke Park. So I think that's the big thing with Derry, and I think maybe that's what caught Glenn Maher as well in the All-Ireland Club final, is, not the ability to kick the ball. We see Dublin when they get their Kerry, they kick the ball. You have to do that. So I'd say definitely go back to the Donegal performance that time when Jim and Rory were together. They actually changed their style on the Croke Park. I know you can say they had the players to do it, but Derry are definitely going to have to take that dimension into their game, because we look at, they're strong in the middle of the field. Their defence is very, very solid as a unit. But then maybe up front, particularly the full forward line, is where they're struggling a bit.
Yeah. As for Tyrone, and we heard Kyle Cooney yesterday or last weekend, Martin, when we were returning from a match, he was tipping his home county of Tyrone to win Ulster. Will Tyrone be quite happy with everybody else talking about Derry as they head to their match against Monaghan? And what sort of tie are you expecting between Monaghan and Tyrone, who have a huge rivalry when it comes to championship time?
Yeah, I mean, that might be the problem with Tyrone. They might be talking too much about Derry. No difference of pundits and people like us chat away about Derry and Tyrone or whatever, but it's important they don't take the eye off the ball and forget about Monaghan, because Monaghan's, this Monaghan team, we looked at the team that played against Mayo the last day out, and you had Conor McManus back with 1-7, Jack McCarron with 4 points. These players, they're still very, very good players, and they'll get marks and they'll work hard. And, it's like what we talked about at the start here, Roscommon ambushing Mayo. Monaghan will feel this is a great chance for an ambush, because everybody's saying that Tyrone are going to win Ulster, or it's going to be Tyrone, this big Tyrone-Derry semi-final. Where's it going to be played and where's everything going to happen? I suppose Fermanagh at the same boat, saying we're at home in Enniskillen and we'll show Derry what we're about as well. We're a good, got promotion this year from Division 3. So, but looking at Monaghan have got a lot of good players, Harden. Now, the big question is Tyrone. Where are they at, Oisin? And that's a massive question, because we look at it, the games they won, they beat Monaghan and they beat Armagh and they beat Donegal. They were the 3 Ulster teams and they beat the 3 of them. Now, we look at it that 2 of them 3 have been relegated now to the second division. So quite how much can you read into that? The other one was Kerry, and you felt Kerry coming to Omagh that Tyrone are going to be far more hungry. So that's the game, the big game that they're going on. And even the last day against Armagh, they won at 16-14 or something. But Armagh was short. Rian O'Neill was a big blow, and you expect he'd be worth more than 2 points. So it'll be interesting to see this Tyrone team. We know their defence always solid. They needed Ronan McNamee back to win the game the last day, and we know carrying a lot of injuries and everything else, and kicked 2 points from play from full back. How big a leader he is to them. They're still depending a lot on Peter Hart and Matty Donnelly, which are very important players, and that has proven towards the end of the league that they needed a call on these players, particularly in the Kerry game when they needed men to stand up and lead. These men did. And I think, looking at them, they have Derek Hanneman, still a young lad, but a very, very important cog for them up front, and he creates a lot of what's happening up front. And they've a couple of young lads and everything coming in, including Rory Kennedy and everything else. So where are they at? I think their midfield is starting to get stronger. I think that's a big one for them. They seem to be stronger in that area and everything else. So yeah, still going to be a big test. As I said, the seeding's going to be important. And from Monaghan's point of view, I know they're very happy to have stayed in Division 1. They're guaranteed to be in the groups of 4 and everything else. But I think they love coming to Omagh. They beat them there, I think it was 18 or 19. Maybe it was 18 they ended up beating them. And maybe Tyrone then went to the All-Ireland final, did they, or something? But I remember the year they beat them anyway. They beat them in Omagh. And, so this Monaghan team still, and there's still a good kick in Conor McManus. We talked about Jack McCarron, Conor McCarthy, a lot of quality players there yet, and the Hughes and everything else on that Monaghan team. So I wouldn't write Monaghan off completely, but I'd be expecting Tyrone to send out a message.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll wait to see what happens in those 2 games. Martin, just before we let you go, obviously the following weekend we have Donegal in Uri against Down, and Antrim are also playing their others, or Armagh, are playing their other semi-final against Cavan. Can Donegal navigate their way through the other side of the draw?
Well, we look at it, we're talking about probably the 2 best teams at the minute. People are saying it's going to be Derry and Tyrone, and they're on the one side of the draw and meeting the semi-final. Armagh haven't been going that well. They're impressive enough considering everything against Antrim, but Antrim are very, very disappointing. So we look at it from Down's point of view, Donegal playing Down and everything else. And I know Down under 20s had a big one last night. Looked very impressive. I know they 4 or 5 of them lads in the senior panel and everything else. They're definitely improving Down. They still didn't get promotion out of Division 3. I know Antrim really should have beaten them, match they played them, and so it's very hard to know where Down's at. They're at home and everything else in the marshes. They haven't been that impressive, so I think it's a great chance for Donegal to get the momentum by getting a 1. It'll be important to get a victory, and if you get a victory in the marshes against Down, then confidence and everything else helps. Get players that are injured back and everything else, and hopefully the training camp and that went well for them. Everything else, so. There'll not be as much pressure on them going up there and everything else, but they're not going to play Tyrone or Derry in the first round. They're going to Downs and Marshes. They haven't been that impressive and everything else. So I just think Donegal have a great chance. If you look at the bookies, they're still favourites. Donegal are being made favourites for everything else. They never be far wrong and everything else. So I think it's a great chance, and I think we're well capable of winning in the Marshes and coming out of there, and that'll give the whole county and everybody a lift. And we badly need it, Oisin. So please God, that'll happen Sunday week.
Okay, fingers crossed, Martin. As always, thanks for joining us on the Score programme, Martin. Enjoy your evening.
Thanks, Oisin. You too.
There you go, Martin McHugh talking Derry, Tyrone and Donegal GAA. Time for another commercial break. When we return, talking soccer with Anthony Gorman.
Gear your club up for the season with a great range of footballs and training equipment from names like O'Neill's, Murphy's, Precision and Mitre at Michael Murphy Sports and Leisure, sponsors of sport on Highland Radio. See michaelmurphysports.ie.
Some people get up early every morning. But on the morning of May 6th, we want everyone to be up for the most important sunrise of the year. Whether it's your first time or 10th time, join Pieta and Electric Ireland for this year's Darkness into Light. On May 6th, everyone's welcome. Sign up, take part and raise much needed funds for suicide prevention at darknessintolight.ie.
Keep your car or van running smoothly with a service at Hegarty's Ford in Letterkenny. Not only will it minimise the risk of a major repair expense, but it will be logged in your vehicle's service handbook and help its resale value. Hegarty's also offer everything from new and pre-owned car sales to parts and body repairs in their approved body shop. Book a service online this month and save €30 when you use the code FORD30. You're always in good hands at Hegarty's Ford, Carnamugga, Letterkenny. See hegartys.com.
Charge into summer with TUI. Choose from a beach cruise or city break or Mexico flying direct from Dublin. Holiday sorted. TUI. Live happy.
What about Dungannon Swifts? You're under the closing weeks now of the season, and you have a couple of huge games coming up. Listen, he's just lost out in the cups. Welcome back to the programme. This is Anthony Gorman on Talking Soccer here on Highland Radio, and it's the Talking Soccer section of the Score programme, and we'll just get Anthony back in just a second. It is, of course, a busy weekend here on the weekend of League of Ireland action, where of course there is a number of ties involving Northwest sides. Harps back at home, they are taking on a treaty, and that game is being played tomorrow night, Friday, 8 o'clock start, and we will have updates here in Highland with Diarmuid Doherty. Derry City's match with Dundalk, of course, back to Sunday due to the American president being in County Louth this week. So we're going to have to wait a couple of days before Derry can try and get back to winning ways. It's also been a big week in the Ulster Senior League. Donegal United going 10 points clear of Cockhill at the top of the table. And Anthony's own side is Dungannon Swifts, currently assistant, of course, there at the Dungannon side. They are fighting for survival, and that's how we began our piece on Talking Soccer this week. What about Dungannon Swifts? You're under the closing weeks now of the season, and you have a couple of huge games coming up. Listen, he's just lost out in the Cup semi-final, but the main focus of the league, that's now priority, and there's a big battle at the bottom. Currently, you are in the playoff place. Can you make it out of that, or how's things going to pan out over the next couple of weeks for Dungannon?
Well, I think, Oisin, at this stage of the season, like we're 5 clear of Portadown, but we're also 5 behind Uri. And as you rightly say, we're in the playoff place with 3 games to go. We do have Portadown and Uri to play in our last 2 games, both at home. Now, I suppose at this stage, given the way the results have gone, and Portadown have picked up a few results and Uri over the last couple of weeks, so I suppose realistically, you want to remain above Portadown, and we're trying to catch Newry, but the way that the other 2 have been going, you take the playoff at this place and at this time, and and take your chances in the playoff against the runners up in the championship. But as I said to you previously, like our form's been quite good at times, but we're lacking that goal score, and like we were dealt a massive blow there a couple of weeks ago for Reece Campbell, who's been our talisman in terms of getting our goals, and that Reece suffered an ACL injury and a totally innocuous challenge, but it's just one of them things, and it's had an effect on us over the last couple of weeks where we have struggled to get goals, but we're still very hopeful, and as I said, our form has been quite good, if a wee bit inconsistent at times, but we're certainly positive going into our last 3 games, Oisin.
Yeah, and it'll be a telling weekend, both at the bottom and the top. Larne, the opportunity to be crowned champions tomorrow night in their tie. They are away from home against Crusaders. Larne, will they be worthy champions in the Irish League?
I think so. Regardless of whatever league you play in, like if you come out on top after 38 games or whatever amount of games you play to win a league, you're worthy champions. And Larne, it's been a gradual thing for the football club, and particularly the owner, Kenny Bruce, who's probably come in about 6 years ago now and revamped the football club, and they went to a full-time model. They also have a full-time academy, and his plan is to walk away after 10 years but leave a football club that is self-sustainable, and they've brought a real feel-good factor about Larne, and I think the last couple of years they've been criticised for maybe being a wee bit soft at times when it came to the big games. But this year, that was also levelled at them. But they've stood up and they've been counted in the big games when it's mattered. And it'll be some story tomorrow or on Saturday if Larne get the point required to win the league. Because, as I said, 5-6 years ago, Larne were in the doldrums of the Championship in the Irish League and basically going nowhere. And credit as well. I mean, I'm not sure if many listeners will know about the management team of Tiernan Lynch, who's played a wee while at Cliftonville but never really made a real breakthrough. But he focused and concentrated on coaching from a very young age. And this is a just reward for Tiernan for all the work he's done over the last 20 years or so.
Yeah, so a nice story on the football front.
Yeah.
And in relation to the League of Ireland, we'll touch on the Ulster Senior League before we finish up, Anthony. I know we did say we would mention that.
Yeah.
But in terms of the League of Ireland now and where Finn Harps are at, and I suppose if you compare it to Larne, where they were 5 years ago in the bottom half of the Championship, Harps currently now in the bottom half of the first division of the SSE, our trustee league, and still just 1-1 out of 8 games played so far for Dave Rogers' side. Treaty of the opposition. I suppose the most important thing is they're back at home and there's an opportunity there to get a second one on Friday night.
There is, yeah, but I mean, at the start of the season, I certainly wouldn't have predicted that Treaty would have been down sitting second bottom mashing. But from a Finn Harps point of view, I think it's a fair reflection on their league position. I think is a fair reflection on the performances and the results. At times they have played attractive football. It is a young team that is, it's for a lot of the players. I think I heard Dave Rogers say last weekend that there's 9 players. It's the first time playing senior football, and that's well and good. But from a football point of view, and Finn Harps will expect to be challenging at the top end of the league for promotion, but it is a more long-term project that is in place at Finn Park at the minute. So they will be looking at an opportunity to pick up more points this weekend at home to Treaty. And I suppose if we're trying to be positive and put a positive slant on Oisin, after 8 games, like they've only lost 3 games, Oisin. So they are quite difficult to beat. You take the bad result of Waterford out of it. They've been competitive in most games, which is a positive for Dave Rogers and his team.
Yeah, positive surely on that front and on that basis. But what is it going to take to get that second one on Friday night against Treaty and Ballybuffet?
The way that Finn Harps are looking to play, Dave talks constantly about playing front foot football and getting away from the style of football that the club had in the past. But I think, and I was fortunate enough as a player that I played in an awful lot of good football teams. But before you go and play, and you want to play attractive football, there's battles to be won all over the park, Oisin. And the first division is an example of a league where before you even think about playing, there's a battle to be won. You've got to go and fight and compete. And when you get on top of your opponent, then you can then go and play football that you want to play. But that, with a young, inexperienced team, it's difficult at times to get that point across. And that's where you need the likes of Keith Cowan, who's hopefully going to be back from injury this weekend, and Ryan Rainey, Noah Baba, the more experienced players of the team. To galvanise the team and get them together and say, right, before we play, we're going to have to fight and scrap and get on top of the game before we start playing our football. And I think maybe at times that if we've been critical of Finn Harps, maybe that could be, and that they haven't maybe shown the league or the opponents the respect that deserves, maybe by not going out and winning the battles first.
Yeah, consistency is obviously a word that's used a lot, and in sport. And as you said, Harps have only been beaten 3 occasions. There's a lot of draws in there, so there is a bit of consistency. But turning that consistency into a winning formula is a big step, Anthony.
It is, yeah, and it's like we touched on earlier about our own situation at Dungannon, about the ability to score goals. I mean, if you're looking at it from a Finn Harps point of view, so they've had 4 draws, and if you score 2 more goals in them games, like that's another 4 points for you. You know, it moves you up into 5th place in the league. So like it's all small margins at this level of football, actually, and. But you know, if you want to go and get a goal scorer and a renowned goal scorer, you have to pay top dollar, and that's the difference in a lot of them teams. You look at the teams that have, like Harps have drawn 4 games compared to Waterford's 2 games. You know, where there's, you know, if Finn Harps had another 2 victories, like it's a big difference. But again, we're talking different budgets and different styles and that. So. But it is going to be. I think it's still going to be a difficult season for them.
Yeah, and I suppose the other side of that is Waterford have a goal difference of +11, and Harps are -8. In relation to the leaders, Galway, 9 points clear at the top. Are you surprised by the margin of their advantage at this stage of the season with 8 games played, Anthony?
A wee bit surprised maybe that it's so big, but I'm certainly not surprised in the fact that Galway have won all 8 games. You look at the management team of Caulfield and Ollie Horgan, who know the league inside out, and you know, 2 very experienced campaigners. You know, so, but it's in around the top 3 or 4. Like they're going to be beating each other, but you know, from a league point of view, it doesn't look as if anybody's going to touch Galway. So at this stage, it's really about playing for playoff places, because I mean they've had a remarkable start to the season, and I can't see anybody closing that gap on them, Oisin.
Yeah. What about the gap at the top of the Premier Division? Shamrock Rovers at the start of the campaign not going so well. Derry City being tipped as one of the sides that would be leading the way and would be league contenders, but it's Bohemians that are in that spot. It wasn't a good period there over the last week for Derry, losing 2 matches in the space of 4 days, both of the games at home, and they've got Dundalk away now this coming Friday night. A bit of a blip round the Brandywell at the moment, Anthony.
Yeah, I think they've got themselves into a wee rut. You know, they've lost the game to Drogheda, and they lost obviously at home to Bows as well. Both games 1-0 defeats. And again, like I watched Derry play Sligo a couple of weeks ago, and I thought they were a wee bit fortunate to get a draw that night. You know, and so the pressure will be mounting on Rory Higgins at this stage. But you know, we talked about Bows and Derry being 6 points behind Bows, but I don't think anybody can take their eyes off Shamrock Rovers, actually, because they're creeping up. They've won their last 3 games, isn't it now? And you know, they've only lost. I know they started off the season with the 5 draws and the defeat to Derry City, but they've won the last 3 games now, and they're. I think if it's Bows or Derry, if you finish above Shamrock Rovers come the end of the season, I think you'll be more than happy, because that would probably mean that you're league champions. And we've seen Rovers going to Bows a couple of weeks ago and won quite convincingly, Oisin. So, but from a Derry point of view, you know, after such a positive start, and then losing the 2 games at the Brandywell, you know, they have to regroup and refocus and go to Dundalk, and you know, Dundalk haven't really been pulling up many trees this season either. Like, they've flattered to deceive at times, but you know, they're sitting 3rd from bottom. So Derry will be going there quite positive in the fact that they'll be looking to get 3 points.
Yeah, Derry can get themselves back in to this momentum swing again, because they have a good enough squad for it, haven't they?
They do, absolutely. I mean, Derry have one of the strongest squads in the league, but you know yourself, when you get into a wee rut like you should be, you shouldn't be losing. But if you're not going to win, you shouldn't be losing. they certainly, in terms of the squad that Rory Higgins has built over the last couple of years, they've spent the money that's been available to them, and they've signed good players. And we go back to coming back, who probably is going to get a league medal for having played the first half of the season with Larne. And Ben's come in there, and I think Ben's been Derry's best attacking player in the games that I've seen, even though he's been playing at left back. So I think maybe tactically they should maybe look about getting Ben higher up the park, because Ben will score goals as well. And in them games that they fail to score at home, maybe Ben Doherty higher up the park could help them and assist with more goal scoring opportunities.
Yeah. Okay, just moving to the Ulster Senior League. Finally, Anthony, getting your thoughts on the battle for the title. It's very much advantage Donegal United, 10 points clear at the top of the table. Cockhill have 4 games in hand, and this is a situation that you're very familiar with, Anthony, because the time that Rovers went to the FAI Intermediate Cup final in 2016, you had a lot of backlog games as well, and now Cockhill find themselves in this position. It's going to be a hectic time for Cockhill, but it's making the run into the Ulster Senior League very interesting, is it?
It's brilliant for the league. A league that has been much maligned over the last number of years for the fact that we've only got Letterkenny, Donegal and Cockhill, and it's been supported by the 2 senior clubs. I know Monaghan were in it last season for a while, but it's very difficult it's been very difficult for the public to get excited about the league. But I suppose the fact that Donegal are in such a good position, and they're chasing the first ever Ulster Senior League title, and they've one game to play, and that game's against Cockhill. And if they avoid defeat to Cockhill, they're going to be crowned league champions, which will be a brilliant achievement for Jason Gibson and the football club. Cockhill, given the run they've had in intermediate, they're playing catch up, and it's similar. You're right, what we found at Letterkenny back in 2016. That with so many games on top of each other coming the end of the season, and then when we got to the playoff game for the league, we were beat. We hadn't, we'd run a race at that stage, and it was just a game too many for us. But Cockhill probably, I suppose from point of view, they're probably a bit younger than what we were back in 2016. There've been more legs about the team, so they'll be looking to obviously to go and win the 4 remaining games and won a 10th league title in a row, which will be some achievement for Gavin Cullen.
Can you call it? Can you?
You can't. I can't really, because Donegal have been so good this year. And Donegal are a wee bit similar to what we were in 2016, where we were, we had a lot of experience in the team. We had like Barker and Christy Conahan and Rory Kelly and that, and then Donegal have Tony McNary and Gareth Harkin, Mickey Funson, they have all experience this time. Donegal, listen, with that experience, they'll have enough. That they'll certainly have enough to get through and play in a game and shoot enough to not get beat by Cockhill. But when you're playing against a team that's won 9 titles in a row in an intermediate cup final, you can never plan for trying to play out a draw, because at any stage, and we've seen it throughout the season, Cockhill have got a couple of late goals that have kept them in the league title race. So never ever rule out or back against Cockhill.
Listen, we covered a lot of ground this evening, Anthony. As always, thanks for joining us on the programme, and we'll talk to you about more football real soon.
Thanks, Mike Dawson. Thank you.
There you go. Anthony Gorman on the Ulster Senior League and League of Ireland and Irish League matters. Just a note on some local soccer fixtures. By the way, Cockhill are in action tomorrow night, Friday, as they take on Letterkenny, and the first of those games in hand on Donegal. In the Donegal Junior League, there's a number of area finals in the Brian McCormick Cup on Sunday. Glennie United playing Kilmacrennan Celtic, and Rathmullen Celtic up against Letterkenny Rovers. The final of the Ulster Junior Shield is taking place as well, with Strand Rovers of the Donegal League playing Redcastle FC from the Inishowen League. In the Premier Division of the league, 3 of the bottom 4 are in action. Kildrum Tigers playing Castlefin Celtic and St Catherine's against Donegal United as the relegation battle continues. And it's the final run of games in Division 2 this weekend. Among the 5 fixtures, Gweedore United are up against Ballybuffet United. The winner of that tie will go in to the promotion relegation playoff. Lagan Harps, of course, already crowned champions, and Cranford are also promoted to Division 1. While in any showing, among the games being played this weekend, Cup semi-finals, the Donegal Signs Challenge Cup last 4. It's Ellis Celtic up against Greencastle. And in the Father O'Gara Cup semi-finals, both games are taking place this weekend. Cairn Reserves against Cockhill Reserves, and Rashini FC are playing Dunree United. OK, we're going for another break. We'll have more on the score after these.
With everyone looking to shrink their bill these days, Dunn Stores gives you more ways to save with Double Savers. First, you'll save in the aisles when you fill your trolley with fantastic low prices across thousands of great products. Then you'll save again at the till with our 10 off 50 grocery vouchers. Shrink your bill today and get a trolley worth €54.66 for just €44.66. Double Savers from Dunn Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used in next grocery shop of €50 or more.
I've just had the Eclipse Cinemas experience. Wow, they truly have taken a night at the movies to a whole new level. Amazing recliner chairs, director's lounge VIP rooms, pizza and hot food served to your seat. Have a glass of wine and enjoy the film on the big screen. Try it for yourself at Eclipse Cinemas Bundoran and Lifford Strabane, where the stars shine brighter. By the way, the pizzas are amazing. You can book your seat anytime at eclipsecinemas.ie.
Take It to the Limit is a celebration of the Eagles by Johnny Brady, Simon Casey, Nigel Connell and the Sheeran family. You can hear Take It to the Limit at the Millennium Forum Derry on Saturday, April 15th. Tickets from £28.50. Now on sale from the theatre box office or online from www.takeittothelimit.ie.
Raymond Sweeney here from Ben Sweeney Aeronix to let you know about the Blomberg Integrated Dishwasher, which can save you time and money. When you're pressed for time, you can choose a quick 30-minute or 58-minute wash cycle or an intelligent auto program for perfect wash results every time. The German-engineered inverter motor means it operates at low noise level, so it's whisper quiet. And there's a 7-year parts and labour warranty for peace of mind. Call in and see for yourself at Ben Sweeney Aeronix, Port Road, Letterkenny, or in the shopping centre Dunlow.
Don't sleep in and miss the very latest beds and mattress offers from dfibeds.ie, Ireland's leading online bed and mattress retailer. You'll get a comfy Irish-made mattress, upholstered base and headboard from an amazing €229. Check out the full range at dfibeds.ie. Delivery free and guaranteed to you within 7 working days. DFI Beds. Sleep well, live well.
Be prepared for training and match day with kit and other essentials from all the top names at Michael Murphy Sports and Leisure. Sponsors of Sport on Highland. See michaelmurphysports.ie.
And you're welcome back to the programme. Around 11 and a half minutes to go to the top of the hour, 8 o'clock, as we turn our attention to rugby. And Strabane are facing into a big final this weekend as they fight for a first piece of silverware in around 15 years. They travel to Newry in this season's Gordan West Plate Final. To make the decider, they needed extra time to see off Lisburn last week. Strabane captain is Jimmy Hamilton. I've been speaking to him today, and he says there's a lot of excitement around the club and within the group of players this week.
Oh, it is indeed. It is. We're definitely excited for playing it, and we're just getting prepared for it now. Tonight will be the last night of training, so hopefully we're ready for Saturday.
Yeah, and you had a big one in the semi-final over Lisburn, Jimmy.
Big one. That was a big one. Now it went to extra time, and I've been playing rugby for 20 years or more, and that was the first time I had a game went to extra time. But in extra time, we showed a bit of resilience and a bit of quality, and we come out the right end. We won by 10 points in the finish up, so it was good to get over the line.
Yeah, good to get over the line. A great result for Strabane. Jimmy, you might forgive me maybe if I give away your age. I know you're what, about 41, 42, are you? So you've been playing rugby for a long time. Fair to say you're probably the most experienced player in the Strabane setup, are you?
I would say I'm the most experienced player in the squad by a wee bit. There's a There's another couple, maybe not that far behind me, but I suppose I've 4 or 5 years on them at the minute anyhow.
Yeah, and listen, you've AIL experience, so you played with City of Derry. You were there with Paul O'Kane in recent years when he was in charge at Derry. So even with that, you bring a lot of experience onto the pitch and dealing with a squad.
Okay, I do. I try. I've come back to Strabane this year. I was with Strabane for a number of years, and then I was down in Derry for 3 or 4 years, and I'm back with them now. So I could just come back to help the boys and give them a couple of years now, and just pass my experience on to the rest of them, and hopefully it rubs off on them.
Yeah. What about the rest of the squad? Is it a mix of older boys and younger? Is it very much sort of young gun Strabane men that are coming through here looking to push the club on?
Yeah, there is a mix, but there is our youth system's very good in Strabane at the moment, and over the next couple of years you'll see a good lot of them bursting into the first team. But at the moment we've got sort of a few older heads and then a few younger heads, and it's a good mix. So hopefully that'll see us right.
This final at the weekend, Jimmy, is it fair to say this is probably one of the biggest games that Strabane have played maybe since they were involved in the Gordan West Cup finals about 14 or 15 years ago?
That would be right. Aye, yeah. It's a few years since we were in the Gordan West Cup final. Now this is the plate, and I know maybe it's not as big as the Gordan West Cup final, but it's still silverware, and we want to bring the trophy back to Strabane.
Yeah. Is that where you want to go after this season? Is the Gordan West Cup final the next step for you, and obviously promotion into Ulster Championship too? Is that where you want to go with progression in the next couple of years at Strabane?
Oh, I definitely. I think this year was a bit of a rebuilding process, and we finished 5th in the league, and maybe we probably could have finished a bit higher. Only in the middle of the season there was a long break, and I think some boys just maybe focused their things to other places, and it was just we just didn't have the same finish to the season maybe we had hoped for. But over the next couple of years we hope to get to more of these finals and hopefully push on and get promotion.
Yeah. Newry's the opposition. You obviously played Newry a couple of times already this season, have you, Jimmy?
We've played Newry a couple of times, and it's always a hard game. So it is. I've never ever went up there without it being a hard game. They're a good side. Maybe this season their league position hasn't showed that, but they're always very hard to beat and very hard to beat at home.
So then it's going to take a big performance, a big effort then if you're going to win this trophy on Saturday?
Oh, it's definitely going to take a big effort. Like we've beat Newry a couple of times this season already, but I think the form gauge sort of goes out the window whenever it's a final, and especially with them being at home, they're always a hard side to beat at home.
Well, listen, Jimmy, we wish you and the rest of the Strabane boys all the best of luck in that plate final this weekend.
That's great. Thank you very much, Oisin.
That is Jimmy Hamilton, captain of the Strabane side. We wish them all the best of luck in that decider. Another important game for Omagh on Saturday as well in the All-Ireland League Division 2C. They host Bruff as they continue their battle at the bottom of the division, while in Provincial Northwest and Ishone are taking on Rinne. Okay, back to Gaelic games. The Donegal senior hurlers start their championship on Sunday at the O'Donnell Park in Letterkenny. They face Fermanagh in the opening tie in the Nicky Rackyard Cup, with 4 other games against Armagh, Roscommon, Louth and Wicklow to come. The top 2 in the group will then make the final at Croke Park. Having run Meath close in the league final, manager Mickey McCann says preparations have been good ahead of the championship.
It's been very good, actually. We've got all the boys coming back from injury now at the one time, and we've a full bill of health come this weekend. So we've been struggling with injury stuff through the league, and look, but the good thing about it, we got a chance to look at a lot of players and see if they can do a job for us if we have injuries, and look, we proved so, and we had a very satisfactory league, getting to the final, and I suppose it was there for us actually on the day. Meath were hot favourites, but we left that game a wee bit disappointed, but when we sat down and looked back at the league, we're very happy, and we're in a good place going into the championship. We can carry that kind of form that we have been in the league the last couple of games, will be hard to beat. Because you did come close against Meath. Not many was giving you hope on that occasion, Mickey, but there was huge learning out of that game for the group, wasn't there? There was actually, and I always like us as underdogs. As I say, even over the last 3 or 4 years, we've taken a few scalps, and it was when nobody gets a chance. So seeing that day, we set ourselves up hard to beat, and we worked hard, and look, we just to say we left too many scores out there that we didn't take, and there was nothing on it. But look, it showed our boys that we can compete at that level. But I suppose in the championship now, Oisin, the tides has turned. We'll probably be the favourites against Fermanagh and Armagh, and you have to carry that. In the last couple of years, we didn't. So we're going to have to set ourselves up that teams are there to take our scalp and be prepared for it. And hopefully we can get off to a good start on Sunday and get a game against Fermanagh, a team that we struggled against for long periods last year, only seen it out in the last 10 minutes. So we take nothing for granted, Oisin. We can't drop to the levels we did against Wicklow 3 weeks ago, or it'll be no good against Fermanagh and them. So I think we learned a lot during that league, At
the end of the day, Mick, I suppose when you look at it, you are the highest ranked team from the league going into the Nicky Rackard Championship. There's many teams in it, 6 altogether. Use are the top guys going into it. So how are you going to handle that pressure, Mickey, or is there any way in putting that to the back of the player's mind?
Oh, well, just complacency is so dangerous, Oisin, in sport. We all know that, and it's a thing we'll be looking hard at, that we keep their heads on the ground and you just keep the work rate up and meet whatever's coming with work rate, and hopefully the hurling will take over then. But as I say, we might be favourites, but I suppose Wicklow are on us and they beat us to 20 points, Oisin, this year. So Roscommon's up to 3 or up to 2B this year. They won the league below us. So I think it's as tough as Nicky Rackard has been. Fermanagh's improving, and you can take nothing for granted against any Armagh or away to Armagh, which is a tricky one, Oisin. So I think it's as tough as Nicky Rackard have been in for a long time, with the likes of Wicklow and Roscommon and ourselves and all on it. So we'll just have to carry the favourite tags against Fermanagh and all, when we meet Wicklow and all. I think it's going to be a 50-50 game, you know what I mean? So you'd like to try to get scores up and be unbeaten come that Wicklow game, the last day out,
Yeah, well, come the break, you'll have 3 games played, Mickey, Fermanagh, Armagh and Roscommon, and you'll have a better understanding of where you're at as you head to the final stretch. But I suppose on the plus, those last 2 games, and that one in particular against Wicklow, they're both home matches, Louth and Wicklow, which you would think would benefit Donegal. Yes,
you would, Oisin. All we're talking about is trying to keep everything in our own hands, Oisin. You don't want to get into the last day or two and score difference and head-to-heads and stuff. So it's so important we get everything right, and every score matters, and every result that we keep it all in our own hands, and that's all we're concentrating on. Is just looking after ourselves and putting ourselves in a good position to come 3 weeks time. It will hopefully 6 points in the table, and another back to the end. We might get the end of the final, Oisin. So if we get into the last day against Wicklow and need a result, it's going to be a really tough task. So we're under no illusions. We need to just keep our own house in order in these first 3 games now, starting off.
Yeah, just back on the team front, you did mention it at the start of the piece, Mickey, that you have everybody back, which is a bonus. Timing for this, having everybody available going into Championship just days out is couldn't have been any better. But there's the other side of it, gives you a bit of a headache.
Yeah, it's a headache, Oisin. The boys have stepped into them positions against tough opposition, have done very well at the end of that league. So we've definitely a lot of headaches. I suppose some of the boys coming back hadn't much game time yet, Oisin, and stuff, so we'll have to judge everybody different and how much they've trained the last month and who's up to speed. That is hard getting the fitness or the go ahead that you're fit, but you have to be up to a certain level of speed and all, and we'll just have to take a look at everybody individually and see which boys is up for a starting place, maybe 70 minutes, and who's going to maybe come on and add this in the last 25-30 minutes. So it's definitely a headache, Oisin, but I suppose a good place to be. We've been struggling all year with injury. It's nice to get them all cleared up.
That's Mickey McCann, the Donegal hurling manager, of course, looking forward rather to that Nicky Rackard opener against Fermanagh, and that is on this coming Sunday afternoon. The O'Donnell Park in Letterkenny is the venue. It starts at 2 o'clock. Also in the Christie Ring, there's a big derby match as Tyrone play Derry, and that game is at Haley Park in Omagh. And that is it from the Score programme for tonight. Of course, if you missed any of the show, it will be available online at highlandradio.com. Have a very good evening.
Be prepared for training and match day with kit and other essentials from all the top names at Michael Murphy Sports and Leisure, sponsors of Sport on Highland. See michaelmurphysports.ie.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
partner during an address to the Oireachtas. President Biden told a joint sitting of the Dáil and Seanad, anything is possible with Ireland and America working together. Our political correspondent Sean Defoe reports.
Well, Mom, you said it would happen.
Joe Biden remembering his mother as he delivered a speech in Dáil Éireann before addressing his black and tan slip from last night.
In the Oval Office,